5 years ago, Darrell Soleil purchased his first home. It's something he takes pride in and gives thanks for every day.
I'm very thankful for what God has blessed me with it.
Then the unexpected happened. 2 surgeries for cancer kept Soleil out of work for more than a year and put him months behind on his mortgage. He was afraid he'd be put out on the street.
I was at the door of foreclosure.
As the number of foreclosures skyrocket, many who are on the verge of losing their homes seek help from companies who claim they can rescue them. But many of these companies are doing more harm than good. Desperate for help, Soleil was encouraged after hearing a company's radio ad that promised to help struggling homeowners like him.
The ad simply said, are you looking to refinance? First of all, are you a homeowner? Do you have equity in your home? Do you need to pay off some bills? Would you like to do home improvement? And I was answering yes to all of these things.
After meeting with the company, Soleil says he signed a stack of documents for what he thought was an advance loan for refinancing. Instead, he had unknowingly signed over the deed to his home, giving the company claim to all the equity that had built up over the years. Attorneys Tanya Bullock and Wanda Cooper represent Soleil for free.
He was not informed of what was really happening. He thought he was refinancing. He ended up doing a full-fledged sale with the option to rent or lease their house back, and with no right to cancel.
Sadly, stories like Soleil's are repeated all across the country. As adjustable rate mortgages reset at higher interest rates, nearly 2 million Americans are facing possible foreclosure on their home loans. Real estate attorney Kirk Levy explains part of the reason for the problem.
People who had marginal credit and maybe marginal amounts of income were allowed to purchase borrowing 100% or even more of the value of the home. And if they had a hard time purchasing it and didn't have the money to put down, they're going to have a harder time maintaining the home, making their mortgage payments if something goes wrong.
Good news for scammers. Ira Reingold heads the National Association of Consumer Advocates.
When your house comes in default, there's notices published. There are people, these companies are studying and taking a look at documents and files and notices to see whose house is going to go into foreclosure, and that's when they strike.
There are many forms to stay away from, but a classic one involves something called a lease buyback.
When somebody buys the property from them and rents it back and at an exorbitant rate, knowing full well that they won't make the rent payments, then they end up with the property.
But Levy is quick to point out that not all foreclosure rescue companies are bad.
What differentiates a foreclosure rescue artist from an equity stripper is really the person's rate they're paying to have somebody save them from foreclosure, maybe rent it back to them and sell it to them again. If there's $100,000 in equity on a $200,000 home and the equity stripper gets to keep all of that, that's not reasonable. If somebody buys that same home for the $100,000 that's owed and agrees to sell it back for $110,000, that's reasonable.
Meanwhile, consumers should arm themselves with knowledge. For example, be careful if an individual or company calls itself a mortgage consultant, foreclosure service, or something similar. Don't sign away ownership of your property without first consulting a lawyer. Be suspicious of offers that take ownership of your home as part of a deal that allows you to lease it, then buy it back after 2 or 3 years. Don't make your mortgage payments to anyone other than your lender. Read everything and don't sign any papers that you don't understand. Bottom line, if an offer sounds too good to be true, it almost always is. Sadly, the only advice for some homeowners is,
if you can't afford your house, you may need to sell it.
If they can refinance, they should refinance. If they can't refinance, they should consider selling as opposed to risking foreclosure.
Fortunately for Darrell Soleil, the company that took his house was legally forced to give it back, and only then because of a technicality. But because the company failed to make the mortgage payments, he's still fighting to hold on to his slice of the American dream.
I'm going to fight for my home, and I will not allow the enemy to take what God has blessed me with.
Charlene Israel, CBN News.